There is a contractor that I know that does very boring construction projects, very boring. There's nothing inspiring about this project. But when he started, he wanted to work with a very specific group of people, someone with a certain level of budget and access for money. The most reliable people, they are targeted by everyone. These are civil servants. They are targeted by banks, they are targeted by everybody to give them loans, they are targeted by investment companies, they are targeted by every other person. And he decided to go for the same market. He asked himself, what happens to a 24-year-old who has been posted into a rural secondary school and most likely is going to be there for the next 3 years? What happens to those people? Most likely they marry within that time frame. And once they marry within that time frame, or they're thinking about marriage, they're thinking about a home. And what is their level of income? It's modest. How much money can they access to build a home? It's actually not much. But can it build money? Can it build a house? It can. What type of a house? It has to be, obviously, boring, practical, functional, and doable. And that's what he went for. So the first thing that he did, because he didn't have any project that he was doing, what he did is that he just sketched a project, had it maybe checked by an architect. It's actually very simple. There is nothing inspiring about these homes. They're actually two to three bedroom bungalows. They have very small windows. They have very boring walls. Very boring roofing. Nothing creative about it. It's just standard, more nothing. The same color, the same primary colors. If they don't paint blue, they go with green, or they go with some shades of brown. That's it. There's absolutely nothing inspiring about this. And the budget, 1.2 to 1.5 million. Why that kind of budget? Because it is the kind of money that a person can actually go to an employer and get a loan for that kind of money. And can it build a house? Yes, but what type of house? Functional, simple, practical. And that is the market that this guy does. I know you have probably traveled up country, especially in this particular contractor does this project in the eastern region, Machakos, Kitui, Embu. Those are mostly predominantly where he does his project. But I have seen similar projects in Western Kenya, some parts of Rift Valley. I've seen those. Very simple, very practical. And the target market is civil servants. People that are earning modest amounts of money. They are most likely in the rural areas where maybe the piece of land is not that expensive, so we can get a piece of land not that expensive, 300, 500,000 maybe max, and do a 1.2 to 1.5 million house, and they are comfortable. That's it. What he was selling them was functional and practical, and that is what he continues to sell them. And do you know how many projects he does every single time? At any given time, he has 15 to 20 projects going on. And I have seen a similar approach by a person who is doing now 3 to 5 million. Same approach. Again, this other guy is running 15, 20 projects at any given time, concurrent. So this is the power of differentiation and specialization. Picking an area large enough, an area that needs enough, that probably is not being served. Because before, majority of these people were going for, they were doing these constructions themselves. They would just decide to start doing construction with a local fundi, and that's it. Nothing creative, just that. But here is a guy who has actually sat down and drawn something very practical and functional. It works. And indeed, it works for that particular person. And now he continues to add other value additional services to this, but it retains the same model. 1.5 to 2 million max. If there are changes, maybe a few changes here and there, but this functional house works, and this functional market works, and this business model works very well because it has it understands the addressable market. But they are not just looking at the total addressable market, they are looking for that total addressable market that can actually buy. So the market is big because there are people that maybe can access loans up to maybe 3 million, but that is not the target. The target is this group before they hit 30 and they want to own a home, before they hit 35 and they want to own a home, when their incomes are still modest and they are in an area where this is possible. So they are not thinking too highly about their market. They are thinking practical about the market that they want to serve. Are you doing the same with your business? Are you doing the same with your contractor business? Have you narrowed down to a very specific person, a very specific, we call them the person or the avatar? Can you tell us the income level of the person that you are targeting? Can you tell us the budget that this person is willing and able to commit today to this project? Can you tell us more about your target audience, or you're just serving a neighborhood market? Because the other guy that is doing 3 to 5 million is also serving a very different market, but a market that still exists. Or for example, business people that want a decent home, of maybe retired people that want to upgrade to a more decent home after maybe kids have finished school or something like that, is also targeting people who are building homes for their parents at home. They are in diaspora. So that budget of 3 to 5 million makes a lot of sense to a lot of people because it is not too much money to commit on a home, especially for diaspora people, and it is very functional. So do the same with your business. Find that market, find that avatar, and do a signature project that particular avatar does. You'd rather not take money from that project, but do it and document the whole of it. And then use it online. Keep posting and reposting. Keep showing people the same thing. Do it because it works like clockwork. So what happens with this guy that is doing 15 to 20 projects in the village, doing very boring and functional homes, is that he actually posts almost the same thing because these houses look the same. He's not having a new drawing. He's not. In fact, all he needs is you commit, he starts bringing materials and he sources materials from locally, gets everything done there and completes the project. Maybe he only makes a very small percentage of the money, but when he has 10 projects ongoing, he really probably doesn't care. So he posts almost the same project, the same things, the same stuff, every single day, almost 5 times, maybe sometimes even more. Tells you about the location. This is a 3-bedroom house in somewhere in water. He will talk about other additional services that they have added, like maybe a tank of water, maybe a solar system. Nothing creative, just the same stuff, very functional. Something that anybody out there who fits that avatar is going to say, wow, I need to follow this guy. 2 years later, this person is buying from the same person that sold that idea to him. Thank you for watching.